All right, number 4, Joel S. says, was Molech child sacrifice similar to abortion in that a key purpose was to get rid of unwanted babies born, most often of sexual sin? Ezekiel 16, 20, and 21 clearly links the practice to fornication. I think that you may be answering your own question here, which is great. Makes my job a lot easier. Ezekiel 16, verse 20 and 21. Let's look at those verses. So just so you guys know, anybody who hasn't heard this, Molech, there was a couple gods that they would offer their children to. And so one of them was a god with these giant hands and a statue with big hands, all bronze. And they would set a fire in the belly of the statue that would heat up until the hands were red hot. And they would, if you have kids listening, you're going to want to skip ahead or click pause for a bit here. But they would take their babies, their living babies after birth, and place them on the burning hot hands of these false idols. And then this would kill the children, and it was seen as an offering to the god. They called it passing their children through the fire. And there's a phrase you'll see in the scripture, passing their kids through the fire. So here we have Ezekiel 16. That's the verse you brought up, Joel. And it says, and you took your sons and your daughters whom you had born to me, and these you sacrificed to them to be devoured. Were your whorings so small a matter that you slaughtered my children, God's perspective on what they did when they killed their kids was they killed his kids, and delivered them up as an offering by fire to them. God does not, this is interesting, another verse among many that shows that God does not see all sin as the same. He's like, hey, your whorings, which I think in Ezekiel is talking not so much about, well, maybe it's talking about two things, their own fornications, but also the idolatry that they have going on. Because in Ezekiel a lot, the issue of idolatry is spoken of as adultery. And so he speaks to Israel as doing that. But there may be a parallel here that what they did with these babies was the same as what Israel was doing, right? You fornicated and sinned, and you produced these children you didn't want. And so they didn't have abortion where they could kill them 10 minutes before they were born, or 3 months before they were born, or just a little bit earlier to kid themselves into thinking it was just a clump of cells. Instead, they waited until the birth happened, and then they offered it to these false gods. It's a nice keep the fornication going method. It's convenient for those purposes, and God hates it. God absolutely hates it. So your question is, does that make child sacrifice in the Old Testament similar to abortion today? And I think there's a similarity and there's a dissimilarity. The dissimilarity is that they're not doing it to Molech. They're not doing it to these idols. But there are two similarities. And one of them is they're doing it because of sin in many cases. These are unwanted children, perhaps in some cases connected to fornication, selfishness, the pleasure-seeking lifestyle of the parents. They don't want to sacrifice and have to take care of their kids. And two, for prosperity. You have to understand the reason why they sacrificed to Molech was thinking that by sacrificing these kids, they would get more prosperity in their lives. And this is exactly the case. Oh, I'm so thankful I killed my child in the womb because now I'm able to be a lawyer. Now I can prosper. Now I'm able to be these other things. And yet at the same time, those same people will click like on a post that says that the mother is the most important job out there, not the lawyer, not the CEO, not the Instagram influencer. The mother is. They'll do that, but then they'll kill their baby so they can pursue those other things. And so there's a similarity in that there. I think either way, it's horribly immoral, horribly and inexcusably immoral.